All glories to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. All glories to Lord Chaitanya, whose form is eternal and who is dear to Lord Nityananda. All glories to He who is the life treasure of all the Vaishnavas. O Lord, please cast your glance of mercy on all conditioned souls. Please deliver them. He who is the king of Vaikuntha manifested the form of the crest jewel of teachers as he lived in Navadvip. The four directions were filled with materialists and offenders. And seeing everyone intent on tasting material illusion, the devotees became very unhappy at heart. And when they saw that Nimai Pandit had accepted the role of a teacher of grammar, the unhappiness of the devotees increased still further. Those in Navadvip who were wicked, they always mocked and made fun of the Vaishnavas, and the devotees were forced to tolerate their insults. So as Lord Chaitanya, as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes of scholarship and defeating all other scholars were going on, in his heart grew the desire to begin the Sankirtan movement and to reveal his actual identity, a little louder, as the Supreme Lord. Thus, with that desire in his mind, the Lord thought, I will now go to Gaya. Thus, after performing the ritual of Shraddha for his deceased father, Jagannath Mishra, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took permission from his mother, whose name was Sachi Devi, and with a happy heart, he, accompanied by many of his students, began his journey to Gaya. Making every village and country into a holy place with the touch of his feet, the Lord began walking. Along the way, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his students discussed religion and tasted the nectar of joking words. And after several days, the Lord came to Mandra Hill. And there upon that hill, he saw the deity of Madhusudan. And then he wandered upon the hillside. Then he who is the king of Vaikuntha manifested a fever, a high fever. And the Lord's students became struck with fear, and they stopped their journey. And the students tried many remedies, but the fever would not diminish, for its presence was the Lord's own desire. And then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu prescribed his own medicine. He said, all my troubles, my fever will be cut to pieces when I drink the water that has washed the Brahman Vaishnava's feet. Then the Lord personally drank that water, and at that very moment the fever left, and he became cured. Thus the Lord, who is known as Bhaktavatsal, the lover of his devotees, he himself taught the importance of respecting and serving the Lord's devotees. And with his fevers destroyed, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu continued traveling until he reached Gaya. Raise your hand if you've been to Gaya. No one. I've not been there either. Upon entering that city, where is it? What state of India is it? Bihar, yes? Upon entering that city, the Lord bathed and performed Shastric rituals. He then folded his hands and offered his obeisances to Gaya, which is known as Tirtharaj, the king of all holy places. In Gaya, the Lord first went to Brahmakund and he bathed there. He then properly worshipped the Pittas, the forefathers, and the demigods. And then he hurried through a chakra-decorated temple to see that which makes Gaya so special and famous. He went to see the Vishnu Pada, the Lord's lotus footprints in a temple. There, the Brahmanas sat in a circle around the Lord's garland-covered footprints, which were being worshipped by fragrances, by flowers, by lamps, by garments, and by ornaments, and incense too, agarbatti. The lotus feet were surrounded by Brahmanas who were describing the Lord's glories with great enthusiasm. They said, Lord Shiva, who is the master of Benares, he holds these feet close to his heart. These feet are the life and soul of the goddess Lakshmi. And the Lord placed these feet on Bali Maharaj's head. Oh fortunate people, please look at the Lord's feet. Yamaraj himself has no power of a person who for one moment of time meditates on the Lord's lotus feet. The masters of yoga find these feet very difficult to attain. Oh, fortunate people, please, they were calling out to everyone. Oh, fortunate people, please look at the Lord's feet, for from these feet the Ganga was manifested. The Lord devotees, his servants, they never renounce these feet, and they always keep the Lord's lotus feet in their hearts. And these very dear feet rest on the bed of Ananta Shesha. Oh, fortunate people, please, please, oh, please, gaze at the Lord's lotus feet. And by hearing the glories of the Lord's feet from the mouths of the Brahmins, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu experienced great transcendental bliss. And a stream of tears flowed from his two lotus eyes. He trembled, and the hairs of his body stood erect. An endless Ganga of tears flowed from his eyes. Thus, for the welfare of all the worlds, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu now began to manifest Prema Bhakti, loving devotional service. Just as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was experiencing ecstasy due to hearing the glories of the Lord's feet, by divine arrangement, by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's own desire, at that very moment, who arrived? Sripad Ishwara Puri, that great devotee, that great disciple of Sri Madhavendra Puri, that great soul whom Mahaprabhu had just respected in Navadvip, in Mayapur, in Nadia. He arrived there just at that time. And on seeing Ishwara Puri, Lord Chaitanya at once bowed down with great respect. And the Lord and Ishwara Puri then happily embraced. And filled with the happiness of spiritual love, they sprinkled each other's bodies with tears. The Lord said, "My pilgrimage to Gaya is now fruitful, for now I have seen your feet." By offering oblations at this holy place of Gaya, a person delivers one of his ancestors, because Mahaprabhu had come, because his father, Sri Jagannath Misra, had just passed away, and he wanted to offer the proper ceremonies at Gaya to deliver all the forefathers. So by offering oblations and performing the recommended rituals in Gaya, a person delivers one of his ancestors, Mahaprabhu said. However, simply by seeing you, one at once makes millions of his ancestors free from all material bondage. Therefore, no holy place is equal to you. Your presence brings the greatest auspiciousness to the holy places. O Shripad Ishwar Puri, please lift me from this world of birth and death. I offer my body to you. And the only gift I wish from you in return is that you give me the nectar of Lord Krishna's lotus feet. Ishwar Puri said, please listen, O Pandit. Up until this time, practically speaking, Mahaprabhu had not manifested devotion. And he would tease the Vaishnavas even. But he was the greatest Pandit in Navadvip, which was like the seat of learning of all of India. And Ishwar Puri said to him, please listen, O Pandit. You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and this I know for certain. Who but the Supreme Lord could possess the great learning that you possess? Who but the Lord can act as you act? And last night, I saw an auspicious dream. And now, I've directly attained the fruit of that dream. O Pandit, I tell you the truth. By seeing you, at every moment I'm experiencing transcendental bliss. And since the first time I saw you in Nadia, I will tell you the truth. Nothing else stays in my heart. And by seeing you, I attained the bliss of seeing Lord Krishna himself. And hearing Ishwar Puri's sweet words, the Lord smiled and said, and having seen you, it is I who have become fortunate. Then, after taking permission from Ishwar Puri, Lord Chaitanya left to perform the Shraddha ceremony and all the rituals. He first went to Falgu Tirtha. He offered Pinda. Pinda is some offering in the sand. Then he went to Pratagaya, which was on a hilltop. And offering Shraddha at Pratagaya, Lord Chaitanya satisfied the Brahmanas by offering them sweet words as dakshin. And after thus acting as if he was a pilgrim to Gaya to deliver his ancestors, the Lord happily went to Dakshin Manasa and then to Ramagaya and offered Shraddha to the incarnation of Lord Ramachandra. He then went to Yudhisthira Gaya and offered Pinda to King Yudhisthira. In this way, the Lord happily offered Shraddha. After performing the Shraddha ceremony and offering Pinda into the water, the Gaya Brahmanas, who were very greedy for dakshin, approached the Lord. And seeing them, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu smiled and cut the bonds that tied them to the material world. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who was Lord Hari himself, then offered Pinda at Uttara Manasa, and following that he went to Bhima Gaya, Shiva Gaya, Brahma Gaya, and many other places. And he performed in each place the required ritual. He went to the 16 Gayas, and in each the Lord made offerings. Then, after bathing in Brahmakund, Lord Chaitanya offered Pinda at Gaya Shira, and in this way he completed the performance of Shraddha for his ancestors. And after offering splendid garlands and sandalwood paste with his own graceful hands, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then happily returned to the Vishnupada to worship Lord Vishnu's own footprints. Then the Lord returned to his own residence, and after having rested for some moments, he sat down to cook. And suddenly, as soon as his cooking had been completed, who arrived? Sripad Ishwara Puri. Overcome with love, Ishwara Puri again and again was chanting the holy name of Krishna. Krishna, Krishna. Practically speaking, no other words came from his mouth. He was overcome with love, and he was walking as if he were intoxicated. And he approached the Lord, who immediately stopped cooking and respectfully bowed down. And he offered Sripad Ishwara Puri a seat. Laughing, Ishwara Puri said, "Oh, Pandit, you've just completed cooking. I've come just at the right time." And to this the Lord replied, "No, Sripad. Today it is I who am fortunate. O saintly one, please accept this meal that I have just cooked." Ishwara Puri laughed and said, "If I eat what you have cooked, what will you eat?" The Lord replied, "Don't worry. I will cook again." Ishwara Puri said, No. There's no need for you to cook again, just to divide the food that you have cooked into 2 parts. The Lord laughed and said, "If you will, please eat everything. And half a moment I will cook more food. Please don't hesitate. Kindly accept the alms that I offer." Thus the Lord offered his own food to Ishwara Puri. And then, with his own graceful hand, the Lord served Ishwara Puri, and filled with transcendental bliss, Ishwara Puri ate the nectarian food that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had cooked. And at that very moment, unobserved by anyone, Goddess Lakshmi Devi hurried there and cooked for the Lord, and thus offering a meal to Ishwara Puri, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself happily ate. In this way, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was merciful to Ishwara Puri, whose thoughts were always fixed upon Krishna. He never thought of anything else. Raise your hand if you just heard this pastime of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu offering a meal to Ishwara Puri. Raise your hand if you've heard this pastime. At least 20% of it. Raise your hand, I want to see. Because there's a benediction that comes to everyone, not who raises their hand, but who heard the pastime. Sri Vrindavan Das Thakur said, "Anyone who hears this account of the Lord's offering a meal to Ishwara Puri attains the great treasure of pure love for Krishna." With his own graceful hand, the Lord then anointed Ishwara Puri's limbs with splendid fragrances, and he said, "What I came to Gaya to do is now done, for I have seen Ishwara Puri." Who has the power to describe how much the Lord was pleased with Ishwara Puri? Lord Chaitanya, who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, he personally saw Ishwara Puri's birthplace. And when he visited there, he said, "I offer my respectful obeisances to Kumarahata, the village where Sri Ishwara Puri descended to this world." And when he visited that place, Lord Chaitanya shed many, many tears. And there he said no other word other than Ishwara Puri, Ishwara Puri. At that place, the Lord picked up some earth and placed it in a bag, and he tied that bag to his outer garment, saying, "This earth is from the birthplace of Ishwara Puri. It is my wealth, it is my life breath, it is what keeps me alive." In this way, the all-powerful Lord, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, expressed his love for Ishwara Puri and expanded the glory of Ishwara Puri, the glory of his own devotee. And then, one day, in a secluded place. What does that mean, a secluded place? How many other people were around? It was a secluded place. Isolated place. There was no one else there except for Nimai Pandit, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, same. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu spoke sweet words, and he told Ishwara Puri his desire for mantra diksha, spiritual initiation. And to that request, Ishwara Puri replied, "Why do you ask me for mantra diksha? It is I who should surrender my life to you." But then in that place, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Narayan, who is the Shiksha Guru, the instructing spiritual master of everyone, accepted initiation into chanting the 10-syllable mantra that Ishwara Puri gave him. And after receiving Diksha, Lord Chaitanya circumambulated Ishwara Puri, saying, "Now I give my body to you. Please cast your glance of mercy upon me, so I may be flooded by an ocean of pure love for Krishna. Please bless me, so that I may attain love for Krishna." And hearing these words, Ishwara Puri embraced the Lord and held him tightly to his chest. The tears of love flowing from both their eyes drenched their bodies. And agitated with love, they could not remain peaceful. The time was approaching for the Lord to reveal to the world his true self. For after he accepted initiation, the glory of his devotional love day by day grew greater and greater. And after several days, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sat down in a secluded place. What does a secluded place mean? How many people were around? Yeah, who said that? Yes, very good. What is your name? Huh? Gopal. Oh, it's Gopal. Hey, Gopal. Hey, Gopal. Hey, Gopal. So after several days, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sat down in a secluded place to meditate on the mantra for his worshipable deity. And you know what mantra that was? It was the Gopal mantra. He sat down and began to meditate on the mantra that he was given by Ishwara Puri, and emerging from the bliss of meditation, the Lord began to weep. And he cried out, "Oh Krishna, my dear Krishna, oh Krishna, who is my life, oh Lord Hare, robbing from me of my life, in what direction have you fled? In what direction shall I go to find you?" Speaking these words, feeling separation from Krishna, the Lord began to weep. Plunged into the nectar of prema bhakti ras, loving devotion to Krishna, he who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, covered each of his limbs with dust. He began to roll on the ground. The Lord was calling out it again and again, "Dear Krishna, leaving me, where have you gone?" The same Lord who was once grave and peaceful now became unsteady, agitated with spiritual love. He rolled about on the ground again and again. He wept. He floated in a nectar ocean of love and separation, which in fact was separation from himself. And after some moments, his students came and tried to bring him back to external consciousness, to his natural state. And the Lord declared, "You all go home. I will not return to the material world. I will not return home, but instead, I will go to Mathura. I will go to Vrindavan. And there, I will meet Krishna Chandra, the master of my life. Where is Krishna gone? Where is Krishna?" The students tried in various ways to bring the Lord back from his internal mood. Gathering around him, they tried to make him peaceful. He, who was the king of Vaikuntha, was now plunged in the nectar of pure devotion. His heart was not peaceful and steady, and he remained like that for days, overcome with love and not speaking to anyone. At the end of night, the Lord stood up and he began walking towards Vrindavan. And he called out continuously as he walked, oh Krishna, where will I find you?" But after traveling a certain distance, he heard an Akashvani, a divine voice. And that voice said, "O jewel of Brahmanas, at this time you should not go to Mathura. When the proper time comes for you to visit Mathura, then you can go. For now you should return to your home in Navadvip. You are the king of Vaikuntha, and accompanied by your associates, you have descended to the earth to deliver all people. It is now time for you to fill the limitless universes with the chanting of the holy names. You will freely distribute the great treasure of pure love of God to the people of the world. You have descended to give the entire world the same nectar of spiritual love that makes Brahma, Shiva, Shanakumar, and a host of others wild with bliss. Please understand this. We, your servants, desire to tell you this. Therefore we speak this and place this before your feet. You are the Creator. You are the Supreme Lord. What you desire, no one can jump over. Therefore, O Supreme Lord, please return to your home. And after some time, after some delay, you will go and you will visit Mathura and Vrindavan." Hearing this voice from the sky, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, accompanied by his students, returned to Navadvip. And thus the Lord entered the place of his advent with a happy heart. Raise your hand if you heard the Lord's journey to Gaya, because there's a benediction attached. But it also goes to those who heard but did not raise their hands. Anyone who hears of the Lord's journey to Gaya will in his heart meet Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And more, anyone who hears about Lord Krishna will attain Lord Krishna's association and will never leave it. of Nadia became filled with the news that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had returned from Gaya. And the Lord's kinsmen ran to accompany him home, to meet him and accompany him home. Some walked ahead, others alongside him, and others behind him. The Lord spoke appropriately with everyone. Gazing at Lord Chaitanya, everyone was joyful. And walking ahead of him, they brought him to his home. To all he saw, Lord Chaitanya described his pilgrimage, saying, "It is only by the blessings of you all that I, after seeing Gaya, have returned without any trouble." The Lord was extremely humble as he spoke, completely different to how he was before. Before, he was an arrogant scholar, or rather acting as if an arrogant scholar, defeating everyone, challenging the devotees whenever they saw him, taking things, arguing. But now, he had completely changed. The Lord was extremely humble as he spoke, and seeing the Lord's humility, everyone became pleased. Some placed their hands on the Lord's head and declared, "May you live long." Others, placing their hands on the Lord's different limbs, chanted mantras for his protection. And others, placing their hands on the Lord's chest, gave the blessing, "May Lord Krishna, who delights Goddess Sitala, be merciful to you." While all of this was occurring, joyful and fortunate Mother Sachi just gazed at her son and remained unaware of anything but him. Bliss arose amongst the kinsmen of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's wife, the goddess Lakshmi Devi. And Lakshmi Devi herself gazed at her son's handsome face and felt her suffering born of separation flee far away. All the Vaishnavas and Nadia became happy to hear the news of the Lord's return, and they immediately came to see him. And then, after humbly speaking with everyone and taking their permission, he retired to his own room. He took with him 2 or 4 Vaishnavas. He sat down and he began to speak very confidentially. What does confidentially mean?
I'm very, with lots of confident.
Almost, but not quite exactly right. What is confident? Confidentially, but very close. Confidentially means I'm telling you a secret in confidence. No one else should know this. So we're going to hear this. So don't tell anyone. He retired to his own room, and taking with him 2 or 4 Vaishnavas, he sat down and began to speak confidentially. The Lord said, "Oh, my friends, please listen. When I first entered Gaya, I at once heard thousands and thousands of brahmanas who were chanting auspicious Vedic hymns. And someone then said to me, 'Look, this place has been made sacred by the water that has washed Lord Vishnu's feet.' In ancient times," they said, "Lord Krishna came to Gaya, and stopping at this very place, he washed his feet. Touching the water from the Lord's feet, the Ganga herself has become glorious. Shiva, Lord Shiva, himself holds this water on his head. This place has become holy by the power of the water that has washed the Lord's feet. That is why this place is known as Padudaka Tirtha, the place made holy by the water that has washed the Lord's feet. And you are here," they said. "You are here in the presence of the Lord's holy feet. You are here. Come look at the Lord's holy feet." When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu spoke the name of that place in front of his confidential friends who were not yet aware of the change that come about his heart. Tears then began to incessantly pour from his lotus eyes. He then became restless and repeating the word, Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. He wept again and again. He sighed deeply, and the hairs of his body stood erect. The Lord could not stay still. He began to violently tremble. Sriman Pandit and the other devotees gazed at the Lord as he shed wonderful tears of love for Krishna, and struck with wonder, everyone thought in his heart, I have never seen anything like this. Oh, thank you, Krishna. You are so merciful to allow me to see these ecstatic symptoms. After some moments, the Lord returned to external consciousness and began to speak. My friends, crying in ecstasy like a child, he told them, please return to your home. But tomorrow, come again. We will say the same to the little boy. And in a secluded place, Mahaprabhu said, I shall describe to you the unhappiness that has taken over my heart. Tomorrow, hurry to see Suklambara Brahmachari's house and make sure that you bring Sadashiva with you. And seeing Lord Chaitanya's wonderful love for Krishna, Sriman Pandit and the other Vaishnavas with the Lord became filled with joy. Thus the Lord's friends left, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu remained alone in the room. And from this time onward, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu always thought of Krishna. And mostly, there's a lot of spontaneity going on. It's very wonderful. And what would he call out loudly when he thought of Krishna? Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. But very seriously, with his heart filled with love and missing Krishna, he would call out Krishna's holy names. Mother Sachi, please turn down the ecstasy level on the monitor. Just Toda Shanti. Mother Sachi had no power to understand her son's activities. Still, whenever she saw her Nimai, she was very happy. Perhaps put this up a little bit. Mother Sachi would look and she would watch her son calling out Krishna, Krishna and weep. Her entire house became flooded with tears. Where is Krishna? Where is Krishna? Overcome with love, the Lord called out these words again and again. And Mother Sachi had no idea why her son had changed. And all she could do was fold her hands and take shelter of Krishna and pray to Krishna to protect him. Thus, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was beginning to reveal his true nature. And now, the limitless universes became joyful. On the following day at dawn, after bathing, the devotees happily went to pick flowers. They used to go every day to one Malika flower vine that was in front of the house of Srivas Thakur. And they would pick flowers, jasmine flowers, and they would use them for their puja, for their worship of their deities. Srivas Thakur's jasmine vine was actually a Kalpalata vine that had descended from the spiritual world. And the Vaishnavas had no power to empty it of flowers. Regardless of how many flowers were picked, the same number of flowers remained on that vine. And each morning as the sun would rise, the Vaishnavas, Gadadhar, Gopinath and Ramai, would gather and talk about Lord Krishna as they picked flowers for their daily worship. Who did they talk about? Krishna. Because this was their heart, this was what was in their mind continuously. So naturally, what is in one's mind, one talks about. But that morning, Sriman Pandit, who had been with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu the night before, he had an exceedingly broad smile. And he also came to where the Vaishnavas were picking flowers. And the devotees noted his smile, and they all said to Sriman Pandit, "We can see that you're wearing a very special smile today." And to this, Sriman Pandit replied, "Yes, and my smile has a cause." "Tell us," said the devotees. And Sriman Pandit replied, "Please carefully hear some wonderful news." Nimai Pandit has become a great Vaishnava. And hearing that he had safely returned from Gaya, I went in the evening to speak with him. His words were only about renunciation of the world, and he did not display even a drop of pride or arrogance. And in a secluded place, he told me about the wonders he had seen in the holy place of Gaya, and he also spoke about Krishna. And when he remembered the name of the holy place in Gaya where the Lord's lotus footprints, the Vishnupada, can be seen, he filled his home with the tears from his eyes. And when he spoke the words, "O Krishna," each of his limbs trembled, and the hair upon them standing erect. He then fell to the ground with no sign of life present in his body. He then became completely unconscious. But again, after some moments, he regained his external vision. It was a great wonder. Then he jumped up and called out, "Krishna, Krishna," and he began to weep, and his tears appeared like the flowing of the Ganga. The devotion that with my own eyes, the devotion that I saw manifest was unlike the devotion of any human being. And then after he regained external consciousness, he told everyone, "Tomorrow you should all come to Suklambara's house." He said, "Bring Sadashiva and Murari Pandit, bring the devotees, and I will tell them of my suffering." Thus, Sriman Pandit said, "I've told you the auspicious news that has caused this wonderful smile to appear upon my face." And hearing Sriman Pandit's words, the devotees loudly and joyfully called out, "Hare, Hare, Hare." And generous Srivas Thakur then declared, "May Lord Krishna increase the numbers of our Vaishnava family." Thus, after finishing gathering of flowers, the happy devotees returned to their homes and began the worship of their deities. Notice that he didn't say that they immediately turned on their mobile phones and went on Facebook. Thus, later that morning, Sriman Pandit went to Suklambara Brahmachari's home, which was near the bank of the Ganga. Sadashiva, Murari, Srivas, all followers of the path of Prema Bhakti, pure love of Krishna, they also came. And Gadadhar Pandit also hurried to Suklambara's house thinking, I will go and hide. And I will hear what Nimai Pandit says about Sri Krishna. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who was the jewel of Brahmanas, arrived, and he sat with these Vaishnavas, and they all happily began speaking. Soon, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recited a verse. I found my Lord, but then he disappeared. In what direction did he go? Please tell me. And speaking these words, the Lord became paralyzed and fell down near one of the pillars in the house. He embraced that pillar and he said, Where is Krishna? He then threw his disheveled hair to the ground. And when the Lord said, Oh Krishna, all the devotees also fell down, overcome with ecstatic love. And observing all of this while hiding in Suklambara's house, Gadadhar Pandit also fell unconscious. No longer did he know who he was, where he was, or the difference between himself and others. Overwhelmed by the bliss of pure love for Krishna, everyone else also fell unconscious. And nearby, the goddess Ganga became surprised, smiled, and began to laugh. And then after some moments, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu again returned to external consciousness, calling out, Krishna, Krishna. He wept again and again, Oh Krishna, oh my Lord, in what direction did you go? Again and again saying these words, Oh Krishna, oh my Lord, oh Krishna, where have you gone? Where have you gone? Saying this again and again, he fell to the ground, overwhelmed, overcome with love for Krishna. And in this way, Sachi's son wept. And the devotees around him in the four directions also began to weep. And even after falling violently to the ground many times, the Lord's graceful limbs showed no sign of being hurt, and overcome with love for the Lord, who is actually his own self, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu fully lost awareness of external events. The devotees began Kirtan, and the tears from the devotees weeping filled Suklambara's house with spiritual love. Becoming still for a moment, Mahaprabhu sat down. Yet, a flood of bliss continued to flow from him. The Lord asked, Who else is in this house? And Suklambara Brahmachari replied, It is your Gadadhar. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu looked up and saw Gadadhara weeping with his head in his hands. Pleased, he said, Gadadhar, you are a great saint. Since your childhood, you have always been wrapped in meditation on Krishna. But I, tasting what is worthless, I've wasted my life. But then, I finally found Krishna, the most priceless of treasures. But by the fault of my past impious deeds, Krishna, my treasure, has fled far away from me. Speaking these words, Lord Chaitanya again fell to the ground. And that transcendental body, which is meant to be worshipped by all, now rolled about in the dust. Again and again, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would regain external consciousness, and again he would fall to the ground. Krishna, oh Krishna, were the only words he spoke with his graceful mouth. The Lord approached everyone, held on to them, and he wept, and he asked them, "Where is Krishna? Oh, my brothers, please tell me at once." But no word of reply could come to the mouth of any devotee. The Lord said to each and every one of them, "Please end my suffering and take me to the son of Maharaj Nanda. Please place me before him." And speaking these words, he sighed and wept again and again. He rolled on the ground and his hair became unbound. And an entire day passed as if a moment. Gadadhar, Sadashiva, Sriman Pandit, Sukunbara, and the others were filled with wonder. Whoever saw the Lord's spiritual love became speechless. And after seeing this wonder, they too did not return to external consciousness. They happily went to the other Vaishnavas and told them everything from beginning to end. And hearing all of this, what had happened, the devotees all called out, "Hare, Hare!" And they too began to weep. Everyone who heard of the Lord's unprecedented spiritual love became filled with wonder. Someone said, "Perhaps he saw the Supreme Personality of Godhead." Someone else said, "Nimai Pandit is very good. He has the power to break the heads of the atheists and the offenders." And someone else said, "He will reveal secret truths about Krishna. Of this, I have no doubt. I know it must be true." Someone else said, "Perhaps by associating with Ishwara Puri at Gaya, perhaps he saw Krishna." In these ways, the devotees happily spoke their opinions as they blissfully chanted the holy names of Krishna. Some sang, some danced, and some wept. And in this way, the devotees became joyful. But they did not talk to anyone sitting next to them about silly things. Thus, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had begun tasting the nectar of his own spiritual love. Sri Vrindavan Das Thakur says, Lord Nityananda Prabhu, who is residing in my heart, happily dictated these pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu so that they would be written in this book. By Lord Nityananda's mercy, I write these words. By myself, I do not have the power to write. As a puppet master makes a wooden puppet dance, so Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu makes me speak. I do not know where the beginning is, and where is the end of Mahaprabhu's pastimes. I describe his glories as far as I know them. As a bird cannot reach the end of the sky, it can only fly as high as it himself has the power. The Lord's glories similarly have no end. I describe them as far as the Lord's mercy awards me power. Sri Vrindavan Das Thakur says, I offer my respectful obeisances to the feet of all Vaishnavas, I pray that I may never offend them. A person who wishes to cross beyond the material world and then dive into the ocean of pure devotional service should worship Lord Nityananda Chandra. Sri Chaitanya is my Lord, and He is my Master. In my heart, I always keep great faith in Him. O Lord Nityananda, O life of Lord Chaitanya, all glory to you. I pray that your feet may always be my shelter. As I sing the glories of Lord Chaitanya, so, O Lord Nityananda, do I also sing your glories. I pray that I may have your association, birth after birth. And anyone who hears the descriptions of Lord Chaitanya will meet Lord Chaitanya. The two moons, Sri Krishna Chaitanya and Sri Nityananda Prabhu, are my life and soul. And I, Vrindavan Das, sing the glories of their lotus feet.